Hey everyone, I'm here to give my thoughts on the upcoming Ocarina of Time remake. Just so I'll let you know, this is my favorite video game of all time. I will never forget. I got this back in Christmas of 1998 with the Nintendo 64. It had Mario 64 in this game, and it's just become one of my favorite games ever made. Well, favorite games ever played. So yeah, I'm here to give Nintendo some ideas. First of all, I think this should not be a one-by-one remake per se. I would say go along the lines of something like Pokemon Let's Go Eevee and Pikachu, but instead of how that game replaced the core gameplay with the Pokemon Go gameplay, I would say I really hope that the Ocarina of Time remake does not replace the gameplay with Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, because I don't want an open world game. I want it to be exactly like the 1998 original and the 2011 remaster. So my ideas would be maybe new side quests, maybe like challenge the Running Man. Could be a new side quest, new items. I'm not saying like, oh, we should make the medallions like what they were originally going to be in the beta version of Ocarina of Time. No, don't do that, because we already had the medallions as items in A Link to the Past, so that was kind of a rehash on Nintendo's part. So I'm glad they didn't do that, and they made them items you get for beating the dungeons as Adult Link. One thing I would add is maybe a 100-floor dungeon, like you know how you had the Savage Labyrinth in Wind Waker, and then you had the Cave of Ordeals in Twilight Princess, and then Paper Mario had the Pit of 100 Trials. Maybe add that. And then maybe a new mandatory dungeon. The new mandatory dungeon I'd add is the Temple of Light. Like, because in the original, when you pull the Master Sword, you wake up 7 years later and you're adult. Link's an adult. He automatically gets the light medallion for Rororu, I think is his name. I don't know, in the remake, maybe make a new dungeon where you have to, like, you have a actual new dungeon with a boss and a new item and everything, and at the end, after you defeat the boss, you awaken a Rororu and he gives you the light medallion. I would do that. Maybe, I don't know, make the hook shot the item in that game, and then the Dompe race could be optional for 2 heart pieces, or maybe remove one of the heart pieces and add a new location for the heart piece. Like, maybe you could actually go to Gerudo Fortress as Child Link and get the heart piece from there, because that was in the original, and even the remake kept that. Well, the 2011 remake, and then, yeah, I would do that. Like I said, I would really like a reimagining of this, but considering this is Nintendo we're talking about, I would be fine with a one-by-one remake as long as it's not an exact copy of the 2011 3DS port. But I'm really excited for this, and I did not like the Direct. Just to let you all know, I did not like the Direct. I thought it was one of their worst, and to be fair, the third-party stuff didn't seem that bad. I mean, yes, there's people out there who like RPGs. I prefer more action RPGs, like, especially what you had on the Super Nintendo. Like, you had Terranigma, and then on the PlayStation you had, like, Castlevania Symphony of the Night. I prefer those because your traditional RPGs, what are you doing for hours? Grinding just to get to level 10, and it takes 2 hours to grind to get to level 10. I don't want that. Like, yeah, the Direct was missing some more announcements. I would have liked a new 3D Kirby or 2D Kirby game, whatever, or maybe a 3D Mario game, or a port of Yoshi's Woolly World. I think that would have made the Direct better, but yeah, I'm happy, but like I said, I don't want an exact one-by-one remake like what they did on the 3DS 15 years ago. I want, like, new stuff. I want, like I said, an optional dungeon and a new mandatory dungeon, and then new items, new side quests. Kind of like what the Link's Awakening 2019 remake did, but a little bit more, more new stuff than that game had. Yeah, and I like the Link's Awakening remake. I still prefer the original Game Boy Color version, but the remake wasn't that bad. It was really good, but I still prefer the Game Boy Color version because it's more simplified. Although I do prefer the Dungeon Maker from the Switch remake versus the Photo Quest, which, yeah. But yeah, those are my thoughts, and I really hope we see more, maybe more Nintendo 64 remakes. I'd like to see Banjo-Kazooie, Banjo-Tooie, Donkey Kong 64, Majora's Mask, Super Smash Bros., Paper Mario, Super Mario 64, just to name a few. Like, kind of like what Nintendo was doing back in the Game Boy Advance era 25 years ago when they were porting a lot of their Super Nintendo games over, like Super Mario World and A Link to the Past. Hopefully they're doing something similar with the Switch 2. Because, yeah, the Switch 2 is like the Game Boy Advance and 3DS. Because Game Boy Advance was the second incarnation of Game Boy, and 3DS was the second incarnation of DS, and this is the second incarnation of Switch. So, something along those lines I'd like to see. But, yeah. But anyways, this was just my thoughts on the new Ocarina of Time remake. I'm really happy for it, and share your guys' thoughts in the video. Let me know what you think.